to have you all join us today. Today is a particularly interesting meeting. I will not say why. Hang in there to know why. Straight ahead, we'll go to saying the Toastmasters promise. You don't have to unmute. I'll just read it and you can say it to yourself silently. As a Toastmaster of Toastmasters International and my club, I promise to attend club meetings regularly, to prepare all my projects to the best of my ability, basing them on the Toastmasters education program, to prepare for and fulfill meeting assignments, to provide fellow members with helpful, constructive evaluations, to help the club maintain the positive, friendly environment necessary for all members to learn and grow, serve my club as an officer when called upon to do so, to treat my fellow club members and our guests with respect and courtesy, to bring guests to club meetings so that they can see the benefits Toastmasters membership offers, to adhere to the guidelines and rules for all Toastmasters educational and recognition programs, to act within the Toastmasters core values of integrity, respect, service, and excellence during the conduct of all Toastmasters activities. So help me God. Straight ahead, we'll be sharing the Pecten mission. Our mission in Pecten is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. Again, I say thank you for joining. Just a few ground rules. Ensure that your mic is muted if you are not speaking. If you are driving and you have to take the call, please make sure that you park and do not drive whilst on this call. Somewhat of a safety brief, if I should say so. But let's try as much as possible to maintain decorum whilst on the call and avoid any distractions that might disrupt the free flow of this meeting. And as we do so, I'm hoping that we would have a very enjoyable time here together. Without further ado, I will call on the president of the club to give her opening remarks. Please get on the virtual lectern and give us the opening remarks, Toastmaster Eseoghene Okereka. Over to you.
Thank you, our VPE, Toastmaster Equity, and hello, everyone. I am Toastmaster Ese, and I am delighted to welcome you to Pecten Toastmasters first edition meeting in the month of August. Our meeting today is themed laughter and good cheer. So I'd like everyone right now to drop their favorite laughter-related emoji on the chat box, or you can just enable your camera. I want to see all of us smile. This is me, I'm already smiling. So just to get us in that mood, because it's laughter and good cheer. This is summer period. I know those of us in Nigeria, the rains, it doesn't feel like it, but laughter and good cheer. What is your favorite laugh-related emoji? Yes, I can see Ezra's favorite laugh. Yes, hi, Zions. I like that. Some people laugh with a sweat on their brow. Some people laugh rolling. Edem is smirking, so that is his version of laughter. Toastmaster Olem likes to laugh by rolling on the floor. You see, I love laughter and cheer because it means different things to different people, right? But there is always a joy that connects with everyone. So being happy, being of good cheer, learning to laugh, learning to share laughter is something that all of us can connect with. It is part of our universal experiences as humans. And today in this meeting, and hopefully for the rest of not just this week, but even this month, I'd like to encourage all of us to find moments of laughter and good cheer. It does not mean there are not a lot of things that it feels like it's going wrong. When maybe you get a debit and you're like, when does this end? But the idea of deliberately committing to seeking laughter, seeking good cheer is something that helps beautify our experiences as human, right? Because it is when we share joy, when we share that love, that community, that we're able to all connect to each other. And you know, we're in Toastmasters and we're always learning about communication. And the easiest way to communicate first begins with a smile. Because with a smile, you're speaking with your body, you do not lead any words. And as a popular cliche quote will say, laughter is the best medicine. So I'd like to encourage all of us that have joined in this call today that we should pursue laughter as a form of therapy. We should see it as always being of good cheer. Let us find joy in our moments, be it the weather, be it your friends and family, be it a funny emoji like I have seen Lily West drop or Brenda, or be it an Instagram post that has you in chuckles. It could be a skit, or it could be just you reminiscing on a fun time you had. In deliberately seeking good share and ensuring we always have laughter in our life, we'll definitely know that laughter would definitely always be the best medicine. Thank you, and it's back to you. Okay, no, I would now like to welcome our Toastmaster of the day. Madam VP, can we see her bio, please? Our Toastmaster of the day is someone I have had the pleasure of meeting multiple times, and it's a delight to have her join us in today's meeting to serve as our Toastmaster of the day. Our Toastmaster of the day today is Toastmaster Oluwatoyin Abayomi. She is a professional coach, a training facilitator, and an educational psychologist with over 2 decades of experience. She's currently the president of Urban Professionals Toastmasters Club, which is based in Abuja, and she is on the motivational strategies pathway. Her hobbies include dancing, cooking, and reading. Her favorite quote says that the opportunity of a lifetime must be used in the lifetime of that opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, either unmute your mic or use the chat box. Please put your hands together as I welcome our main host for today's meeting, our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Oluwatoyin. Hello, Toastmaster Oluwatoyin.
Oh, sorry, I muted. Good evening, good afternoon, Port Harcourt. Good afternoon, Lagos.
Good afternoon.
Let's give a rousing applause to the president. Let's give a rousing applause to the president. I can't hear you. I know, yes, we are online, but then I can hear one person clapping. Probably another person has joined. I'm waiting. Oh, thank you. Pecten. Is it Pecten or Pecten? I heard Pecten.
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 Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It's my delight to be here.
Sorry to interrupt, Toastmaster Tony. We are not seeing you. We're just seeing, if you could re-angle your camera.
Can you see me now?
No, take it the other way. Okay, perfect.
No, you see,
yes, we can see you now.
Okay, I think there might be a problem because my handset, I'm logged in with 2 devices, my laptop and my handset.
Okay.
And my handset is, so you can see that's what is going round. Because I'll be using that. Yeah, so let me switch the video off. Now, okay. Can you see me now? All right, thank you very much. So it's a pleasure to be here this evening, and I want to say thank you to Pecten Toastmasters Club Port Harcourt. I'm your TMOD, and my job is simple, to see that this meeting goes on smoothly to our destination. And we're going to do that today with a lot of laughter and good cheer. And I would like to say Madam President has done a good thing by telling us a little about laughter and cheer. How many of us have had the opportunity to have a good
laugh? Sorry, Madam TMOD, the audio is really muffled. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, but can you hear me?
No, we can't. Could you unmute, please?
I'm not muted.
Okay, better. It's clear now. It was muffled for a long time, but it's clear now. Please go ahead.
Okay, so it's better now.
No, it isn't. It keeps waffling, so it would go high and then go low.
Okay, let me switch to my laptop's audio.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yes, please. I think while we wait for our TMOD, we could immediately maybe start off to introduce our general evaluator while she tries to sort her audio issues. Thanks for your patience, everyone. I would like to welcome our general evaluator for today's meeting. Our general evaluator is distinguished Toastmaster Kubi Uyanga, who is a communication consultant and a writer. He's been a Toastmaster for over a decade, and he's currently a member of 3 clubs. He is the current division director of Division F, and he has once served as a charter president. His hobbies include running, conversing with kids, and pondering on the human condition. Please put your hands together as we welcome on stage our general evaluator, CM Kubi. Hello, DTM Kubi.
Yes, Madam President, I am very grateful to you for your kind introduction. Good afternoon, Pecten Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters and friends. I am happy to be here in this meeting today and to serve as the general evaluator for this meeting. I hope you're happy too. My role here in this meeting is a pretty straightforward role. If you consider the thoughts once shared by American management consultant, Eseoghene, he said that anything that can be measured can be improved. And that's exactly the essence of the general evaluation session in Toastmasters meetings. It's because if we measure what we do in meetings, we can achieve what we came here to do, an improved version of ourselves, week in, week out, meeting in, meeting out. So my role is to lead a team of evaluators that will deliver this feedback to us. It's supposed to be the breakfast of champions, but looking at the time, it's going to be the dinner of champions today. Calling them in no particular order, I'd like to first bring to the screen. Okay, maybe I think I'll allow the screen share to guide me. The grammarian. The grammarian of the meeting is a Toastmaster who has his legs and hands in all 4 divisions of the country. He took off from Division F, currently being hosted in Division E, and has interest in Division U, and here he is, being the grammarian in Division K. His name is Ena Agbaobe. He's an engineer, a member of Surulere Toastmasters Club, a member of Unity Toastmasters Club. He loves playing chess, a very strategic-minded man. He enjoys watching football and movies also. A man who believes that the joy is in the journey. This is a quote by Kathy Boyd Fedor, our grammarian for this meeting, the ebullient Toastmaster Ena Agbaobe.
Thank you so much, the General Evaluator. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, good evening. As grammarian, it is my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I'll take note of any improper language and also outstanding words, quotes, sayings, and thoughts. In addition, as grammarian, it is also my duty to introduce the word of the day. For today's meeting, the word is JOCUND, spelled J-O-C-U-N-D, JOCUND. And it's an adjective meaning to be cheerful and light-hearted. Example, the members of Area 23 attended a JOCUND party organized by the area director. Another example is Toastmaster James' speech showed the jocundity of his personality. We have so many synonyms: happy, jolly, merry, in high spirits, elated, etc. We are all encouraged to use the word of the day as lavishly as we can. I will give the grammarian reports when called upon to do so during the meeting, and also report on the usage of the word of the day. I wish us a very jocund Toastmasters meeting. The General Evaluator.
Thank you very much for giving us that jocund explanation of your role, Toastmaster Enna. I'd like you, please, before you step away, can you let us know this word jocund, is it a noun, an adjective, an adverb, or a verb? We don't have the class of the word.
Okay, I did mention it. It's an adjective. Jocund.
Okay.
It describes your state of being lighthearted and cheerful.
Okay, thank you very much. It's well noted that the word jocund is an adjective. So we segue straight to the introduction of the R counter. If you can see her visage on the design, you can see that she's a very jocund person with a nice smile there. She is an industrial hygienist by occupation. And in the Toastmasters journey, currently she is on the visionary communication pathway. She's a lady that enjoys playing volleyball, enjoys watching romantic comedies, and acquiring quirky things. Interesting. And her favorite quote is, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, compassion, humor, and style." This was first said by Maya Angelou. Ladies and gentlemen, however you can do it virtually, physically, please make it very welcome to give the R counter report, our R counter for this meeting. Toastmaster, hold on, please.
All of it's fine.
Toastmaster Olem, forgive me, please. Toastmaster Olem, the screen is yours. Toastmaster Olem, there you go.
Thank you so much, the General Evaluator. Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. My purpose as the R counter for today's meeting is to note our use of words and sounds. And I refer to words that we may use as crutch or pause fillers when we speak. During the course of the meeting, I will listen out for overused words, including things like and, well, so, but, you know. I would also listen out for filler sounds like and I would also make notes when a speaker repeats a word or a phrase like I, or say things like this means, this means. At the end of the meeting, I will report how many times each speaker used any of these expressions. Thank you, and over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much for your jocund delivery, Toastmaster Olem. We move straight on to a very important role player today, the person who keeps us on task and on time, the timer for the meeting. You might wonder, who is this timer? The timer is a biomedical scientist and data analysts. That's a multi-potentialite right there. She is the Vice President membership of Pecten Toastmasters Club and is currently engaged in the persuasive influence pathway. She enjoys making money, she enjoys traveling, and she enjoys spending time with family, watching interesting shows. Make very welcome a lady who believes in the words of Tom Ford, that whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. And right about now, I bring to the screen Toastmaster Ekuchi, Joy Jens.
Thank you. Thank you so much, DTM Kubiyanga. Today, I am the timing police. I feel so good to have so much power. I'm excited already. My role today as the timer would be to take note of proper and appropriate use of time throughout the course of the meeting. As Toastmasters, we pride ourselves in always keeping to time and being very fidel with how we use our time, respecting time and making sure that everyone that comes on here understands that that's part of our values as Toastmasters. The Toastmasters meeting has 3 parts: the table topics, the manual speech segment, and the evaluation segment. The table topics segment is a segment where impromptu speeches are carried out. Each impromptu speech runs for 1 to 2 minutes. At the 1 minute mark, I would write in the chat box green. I will prompt green. At the 1 minute, 30 minutes mark, I will prompt yellow, which means you should start getting ready to round off. And at the 2 minute mark, I will prompt red, after which you have 30 seconds to scamper off the virtual lectern. Try not to rush. Take your time, but make sure you leave just after 2 minutes. For the manual speech segment, today is a very interesting meeting. We have just one manual speech. It is the Odogu of all speeches, which my Igbo people will call the king of all speeches. This speech is going to run for 30 to 40 minutes. It is a panel session. I'll leave the details for later. At the 30-minute mark, I will put up the green signal. At the 35-minute mark, I will put up the yellow prompt, and at the 40-minute mark, I will put up the red prompt, after which we have 30 seconds to conclude. The evaluation segments are divided into table topics evaluation, speech evaluation, and the tag team evaluation. The table topic evaluation and the speech evaluations run for 2 to 3 minutes. At the 2 minute mark, I will put up the green. At the 2 minute, 30 minutes mark, I will put up the amber. And at the 3 minute mark for both evaluations, I will put up the red, after which we have 30 minutes to conclude. For the tag team evaluations, it runs for 1 to 2 minutes. The same order follows. And for the general evaluators report, it runs for 3 to 5 minutes. And the same order of timer cards or timer prompts would also be shown. Please let's make sure we respect the time, and I'll be coming back here to give the timers report at the end of the meeting. Thank you, and it's back to you, DTM Kubi.
Thank you for giving your role explanation very succinctly and handing control back right after. Ladies and gentlemen, just one detail that the timer, about the timer's rule. As a speaker, as a panelist, it would benefit you to please locate the timer and pin the timer, because she plans to share the timing prompts by changing the color of her background. So you might want to keep her in view by pinning her if you are an active participant as a speaker or a panelist. That being said, and all the rules of the grammarian, the timer, and the counter having been explained, I'll just leave you with this, that aside from the time, aside from the grammar, aside from our dependence on speech crutches being reviewed, every other part of the meeting will be reviewed, from the prepared speeches, impromptu speeches, evaluations, and our adherence to other guidelines. And in the benedictory portion of this meeting, we shall come back, myself and the team, and we shall share these reports. And of course, we shall be the wiser for listening to them. At this point, I hand over control back to the Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Abayomi.
Thank you, DTM Kubiyanga. Can you hear me? Huh? Yes. Can you hear me now clearly? Thank you very much for stepping in. Now we're going into a different segment of the program. I believe because of the nature of this meeting, we're not going to have the conventional process of having the prepared speech, table topic session, and then the evaluation. So right now we're going straight into the table topic section segment, and I would like to call on no other than Toastmaster Chituru Uweje. Toastmaster Chituru Uweje is a healthcare provider. She is a VPPR of the Oil City Speakers Club, and her hobbies are painting, drawing, and laughing. I'm sure you can see that her face is cheerful and smiling. So over to you, our table topics master, Toastmaster Chituru Uweje.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day. Please, may I have permission to have my video off during this segment?
Please go on.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. It's my esteemed pleasure to serve as your table topics master for today. The table topics is a session where members and guests have the opportunity to practice speaking on their feet. Basically, this means that you get to talk about topics that you didn't prepare for. It gives you an opportunity to practice your impromptu speaking. And a couple of people here today will have the opportunity to do this. Do we have any volunteers? Will there be anybody who would like to take some topics? Any volunteers, please? And Zoom Master, please, can you give me the screen sharing abilities, please? Thank you. iPhone Enna and Zioness Bello. Okay, give me a second. Share screen. Can I? Okay, great.
Yes, you can.
All right, thank you so much. 1 second. All right, can you see my screen, please? Hello, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome, thank you so much. All right, so I saw Enna's hand first. So Enna, I'll be calling you first. And here's your question. Oopsie. Is my slide not moving? Sorry. Oh, shit. All right. Here's your question. What was the last thing that made you laugh from the deepest part of your belly? Toastmaster Enna, what was the last thing that made you laugh from the deepest part of your belly? The virtual lectern is yours, Toastmaster Enna.
Thank you very much, the topics master. And good evening once again, fellow Toastmasters and guests. What was the last thing that made me laugh from the deepest part of my belly? That has to be a show I went to at the Echo Hotels in Lagos. It was a comedy show by Bovi, the comedian. And he was reenacting this story about having to do with angels and how former presidents were being judged by the creator. And the structure, the way he packaged the entire story, starting from what seemed to be quite innocuous and serious, and finally giving us the punchline at the tail end of the presentation, really touched me from down below. And even now, as I speak to you, I'm feeling quite jocund, and I still want to laugh again, right from the bottom of my tummy. So basically, going back to your question, no doubt, the one most significant laughter I got from that made me laugh from the bottom of my stomach has to be that show at the Echo Hotels given by Bovi, the comedian. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Enna. Thank you very much for volunteering, and thank you very much for telling us about that experience that you had at Bovi's show. Thank you so much for that. It was interesting. All right, our next opportunity is to Lioness. Lioness, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm on the call. Sorry, I was dealing with my baby.
Awesome. So here's your question. Looking at the face of this child, what do you think could have been the reason for this child's smile? Toastmaster Lioness, or are you a guest or a Toastmaster?
I'm a guest and I can't see the child except you're
Toastmaster Chitru, you're not sharing.
I'm not sharing.
No, you're not yet.
Oh, sorry. It's sharing my screen. Can you see my screen right now?
Okay, I can see it.
Okay, I'm sorry about the experience, please. All right, looking at this child's face, what do you think could have been the reason for this child's smile?
Well,
Lecton is yours.
Okay. The child has a jocund personality about her, and I believe the reason for the smile on her face is that bread she is holding in her hand. I mean, who doesn't like food? If I was given a whole pack of bread, I would have that jocund personality on my face too. Apart from that, probably she might be looking at her parents, or it looks like a professional picture. So maybe the photographer told her to smile for the picture, or just being a light-hearted child. Having my own daughter has made me see that children, they smile and cry for whatever reason. It is up to them. So she has that smile on her face she can have that smile on her face for different reasons. But I will personally go with the fact that she's holding bread, a packet of bread.
Are you done?
I am done.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, yes, Lioness. It's a pleasure having you in our meeting. We hope that very soon we begin to call you Toastmaster Lioness and join the learning experience with us. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Toastmaster Cheater, sorry to butt in, but it's Zioness.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Zioness.
I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
All right. Toastmaster Anjola Oluwabadaru, are you on the call?
I'm very present.
Awesome. Okay. So I'll be giving you a question now. And your question is, drum rolls, if you were president for a day, can you see my screen?
Very clearly, yes.
Yes. If you were president for a day, what would you do to bring laughter to the faces of the people?
I will definitely let the poor breathe. I believe that by simply starting out this way, it would already tell the kind of president I'll be if I was president. But indeed, laughter will be one of the fulcrum of what will belly my administration. I think that Nigerians are in a situation where people are having to reallocate their resources. And I'll think about it. A couple of governors have come up with ideas that are very interesting. There was one lately, which was to give a happy hour, giving people in the states a happy hour sharing beer. I think that will make some people laugh. I think that I've also seen another situation where a governor said that people could always go and ride bicycles in this period. I don't think that will make people laugh. But for me, I think that the first thing will be to say, hey, I need to let the poor breathe. And to make them really breathe, I would ensure that there's power supply. I would ensure that it's as cheap as possible. I would ensure that our salaries get increased. And I would ensure that really even mothers have a bit of respite. I think that I would also listen to what the people want, and the feedback would fuel the strategies I would implement towards ensuring that indeed the people can laugh. Thank you very much. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Angela Oluwa. That was very interesting. Thank you very much for that. We're going to be taking one last volunteer, and that will be Toastmaster Nnamdi. Are you on the call?
Yes, I'm on the call. I'm on the call.
Okay, here's your question, Toastmaster Nnamdi. Tell a story incorporating these 4 words: laugh, tears, smile, happy. Toastmaster Nnamdi, tell us a story, and in this story, let these 4 words be infused in it: laughter or laugh, tears, smile, happy. The virtual lectern is yours.
Thanks, Toastmasters. Given the economic situation in Nigeria at the moment, right, I'm proud to the handover on May 29th. We had hopes that things would change for the better, right? For every day that I look forward to the election, the presidential election, I was filled with laughter, right? I was filled with laughter because I felt that things would change for the better and we would have cause to smile over and over again. And then the D-Day came for the presidential elections. We stood our grounds at the polling units to ensure that things went as planned and went the way the populace wanted it to go. Fast forward 2 days afterwards, results have not been called out. We can see the manipulations at the national television, at the collating center, etc. While we waited patiently to see if there would be a miracle for us, I was filled with tears. And these tears kept rolling until the day the final results were announced, early hours of the day. What could a man do? We had to accept the results as it were. And since that day till date, I have not known peace. Over to you, Toastmasters.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Nnamdi. Please give him a rousing round of applause. That was very interesting. I know that the word of the day is JOCUND, and I've been looking out for an opportunity to use the word JOCUND, but I can't say that there was any particularly JOCUND speech today. So I will litter this whole last commentary with the word JOCUND. And thank you very much. I'm returning controls now to the Toastmaster of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Chituru, for that jocund session of table topics. And I must say that the last speaker filled his speech or story with such jocundry, language and words. Thank you for that. Now we're going move forward, and it is my pleasure to say that the session that we all look forward to in every Toastmasters meeting is going to unfold. And it's a special one. So please join me to make welcome evaluator and the speaker for the prepared speech. So to do this, I'm going to call on Toastmaster Chuks Nwabweze. Toastmaster Chuks Nwabweze, right? Is he here?
Yes, Madam TMOD, I am here.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Greetings, Toastmasters and guests. Today is special. It's special for many reasons that we have experienced already. It's special for many reasons that we will yet continue to experience, because in the next 20 to 40 minutes, we will experience that jocund personality of our president, Toastmaster Eseoghene, as she delivers a speech anchored on the theme ethical leadership. For this speech, she has spent some time preparing, and what she has done is develop her personal ethical framework Over the next few minutes, she will lead a panel session to demonstrate what this ethical framework is about. We are all here for it because we are all here to learn from it and maybe even change some of our ways. You never know. But to introduce the actual speech topic and all, let's go back to our Toastmaster of the day. Over to you now, Toastmaster Oluwatoyin.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Chukwunwabweze, for that interesting intro to the next session. And so for this session, I'm going to be inviting Toastmaster Eseoghene Okereka, who is the moderator of this session. Toastmaster Eseoghene Okereka.
Thank you. Please confirm you can hear me and see me. Hello, everyone.
Loud and clear.
Okay, excellent. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. I am Toastmaster Essie, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to today's meeting. Apologies, it seems there's a bit of an audio issue, so Zoom Master, could you help us check? Okay. Hi, everyone. We are all thieves, the ethics of piracy in Nigeria. First, a bit of ground rules. In this panel discussion, I will be introducing our panelists and we would be having a conversation around the ethics of piracy in Nigeria. We would also field questions from the audience, but at that time I would note it. So please, audience, if you have any question, you can save it for later or use the chat box and that would be called upon when it starts session time. So I'm very delighted to first start off by introducing our panelists. Our first panelist today is Toastmaster Equity Joy James, who is a biomedical scientist. She currently works as a data analyst in the oil and gas industry and has done work with oil spill response and air quality monitoring. She's currently the Vice President Education of Pecten Toastmasters Club and has won at both the division and area level in Toastmasters context. Her favorite quote is by renowned industrialist Tom Ford: "Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right." Toastmaster Joy, we're delighted to have you join us in today's session. Hello.
I'm happy to be here as well.
Okay, nice to see you. Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Our next panelist would be Toastmaster guest Eleza Aja. Eleza Aja is a learning and development expert and has over half a decade in talent development and outsourcing. He works with learning programs and has conducted programs with over 700 young Nigerians where he's taught them on harnessing latest technology and industry trends. He's also trained hundreds of women in digital skills, making them more employable and attaining leadership positions within the tech industry. He's a strategic thinker, problem solver, and excellent communicator. Please put your hands together as I welcome our second panelist, guest Eleza Aja. Hello, Ezra.
Yeah. Hi, Essie. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. We're delighted to have you join us. And third panelist is Toastmaster Mina Allison, who is an environmental health practitioner. She has over a decade worth of experience in the health services and has competencies in managing risk prevention programs. She has extensive knowledge in implementing employee safety programs and regulatory compliance. She prides herself on her strong communication skills and is well-versed in data analytics and visualization. She's currently a Power Apps developer who has deployed an app for shell companies in Nigeria. She's currently the treasurer of Pecten Toastmasters Club, a mom to 3 amazing kids, and her favorite quote is by Joe Austin that says, "Out of our greatest rejection comes our greatest redirection." Hello, Toastmaster Mina. Welcome to our panel session.
Thank you for having me, AC.
We're delighted to have you join us. And our final speaker is Chika Obani, a pipeline integrity and capacity engineer. He's a husband, a father, a bridge builder, and a people-preneur. He currently works as an engineer in the oil and gas sector, and his passion is reflected in his activities where he's serving in diverse leadership roles, from Global Shapers Forum to the African Youth and Governance Convergence to Toastmasters International and the Nigerian National Association of Corrosion Engineer. He also has a podcast that he runs with his friend called The Urbani Show, which he uses to connect with more people. The most impressive part of his life is his family life, where he's connected to his wife and son and solving life's daily problems. Hello, Toastmaster Chika. Welcome to today's session. Hello, Toastmaster Chika. Please confirm if you can hear us.
I can hear you. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you. So I'm going to immediately, with our panelists, start off with an icebreaker. And first off, Toastmaster Chika, I can already see you and you're muted. Are we all thieves? What do you think? Yes or no? No, it's just a yes or no question. Are we all thieves?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Interesting. Guest Eliza, are we all thieves? Yes or no?
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Okay. And Mina, are we all thieves? Toastmaster Mina?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And finally, Toastmaster Joy, do you think we are all thieves? Toastmaster Joy, please confirm you can hear us.
Yes, I can. I was muted. Apologies. Yes, we are.
Oh, okay. Well, that is a good way to brilliantly segue into our session today. And I will now immediately start off by, first of all, defining what piracy is. Now, according to Cambridge, it's the act of illegally copying programs or films or recordings, right, to sell at much cheaper prices. While according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it is that unauthorized use of another person's production, invention, or conception, especially when you infringe on its copyright, right? And there is a popular quote that says, ignorance of the law is no excuse. There have been multiple instances in how people use pirated products or do not even know that the product they are consuming or the content they are consuming is likely pirated, right? I know that in designing my ethical framework while choosing this topic, I am actually one of those people that I tend to hop on one side to the other. It depends on what is being pirated. It depends on the current interest. And you know, that ethical views, it gets very divergent. The way you would expect someone to behave when they think something is pirated, if they are the creator versus if they are the consumer, it tends to be really different. So first off, from our panelists, I would really like to ask this first question. Toastmaster Joy, why do you think people pirate? Why do you think people pirate? Why do you think people pirate things in Nigeria?
Thank you for that question. I think that's an appropriate question for me in particular. Piracy has become second nature. Many people might say, oh, it's because we're riddled or we're burdened with a lot of poor people in Nigeria. So it's expensive to get stuff originally, or originality is expensive. I beg to differ. I would say that the economic situation has nothing to do with piracy. The reason I think that there is piracy in the country is because we like the easy way out. Everybody loves convenience. Everybody wants easy peasy lemon squeezy. Nobody wants to stress. Nobody wants to have to go through the rigors. And it has become second nature. This lifestyle has now been passed on from generations and generations before us, even in societies, Western societies that are not Nigeria. So you can imagine where this stems from, societies that are even more economically stable. So hence my claim that it is not solely or primarily dependent on the economic situation. I would conclude by saying that piracy is first and foremost caused by the need or the inability to really go out of your comfort zone and do what you need to do to get something done.
Okay, yes, interesting insight, and thank you for sharing, Toastmaster Joy. It is interesting to hear you talk about how finding the easy way out, the rigors, all this in my head points out to access. And access is tied to economics. The way it is easy or cheaper for me to access something likely depends on my bank account. But interesting perspective that it is also cultural, because across generations, even in places that seem to have better economics, they still practice piracy. Toastmaster guest Eliza, I'd like to hear your opinion around this. Why do you think people pirate? Do you think, like Toastmaster Joy, that it's a factor of people just trying to find the easy way out?
All right, thank you so much, Toastmaster Essay. I'll piggyback a little bit off what Toastmaster Joy said, in the sense that when people, ease just basically ease of access, and it cuts across. But I train people I've trained people over time, especially older people. And the first thing I say anytime I'm teaching cybersecurity is that we're all cyber criminals. That's why when you ask the question, I immediately agreed. And it's because it's endemic. It starts like from way back, where your first Microsoft Word that you had on your computer system, you most likely didn't pay for it. And it's interesting because Africa and Nigeria has one of the largest user bases of Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office, but Microsoft gets the least revenue from because a lot of the things that we have are generally pirated. So obviously there's still the economic aspect to it, but first of all, it's also mainly because of access. Something is available, you're looking for something, you're not able to get it, and then you just go for the easier way. And over time, piracy has become the easy way to cop things, the very, very easy way. But then I also think that finances also play a very major part in it. And, because piracy is a very broad topic, covers everything from software to novels, to books, to movies, to research work, etc., etc. Now, in terms of finances, a lot of people, for instance, in Nigeria, NetNiger became very, very popular during the pandemic because people were able to just go to NetNiger and download stuff, right? Because they didn't have to pay for Netflix. There was one. But then the other aspect of, people going there was because this is Nigeria. We have a Cybercrime Act that was enacted in 2004, 2015. But if you're not doing actual Yahoo, nobody cares about you. So there's literally no punishment for it. So if you go to other places, to the UK, to America, to Germany, I generally don't even travel with any system that has any installed file because I'm not sure if I paid for it. So I just go with a clear system and do everything online because there are real and actual consequences in other clients. But in Nigeria, we don't have anything like that. So I think ease of access, I think finances, and most importantly, no consequence for actions. That's why, piracy is very prevalent in Nigeria.
Oh, thank you so much, guest Ezra. I really like that point around if you're not doing actual Yahoo, nobody cares in Nigeria. Re our Cybercrimes Act. And I like the point you've raised around the lack of consequences and also limited access as influencing why people pirate. So I'll now be moving on to our next panelist, Toastmaster Mina. Toastmaster Mina, what do you think are some experiences or examples you've had as it pertains to piracy, especially maybe with misconceptions, what people do not realize or even know it likely falls under piracy? Would you like to share, Toastmaster Mina?
All right. So there was an image one time I saw making rounds on web that says piracy is not theft because it makes a copy and leaves the original intact. So the diagram itself for me, I think is correct. Piracy simply makes a copy of the song, the video, software. I mean, the original remains intact and the owner doesn't get to lose a copy and then when someone pirates it. So this is because stealing a digital work is not like stealing a tangible item. Pirating a digital video off the internet is not the same as shoplifting a DVD from a DVD store. So when you shoplift a DVD from a store, you're removing the original, which can no longer sell and therefore loses money. But when you pirate the same movie off the internet or any digital space, the studio that released the movie does not lose a copy and can continue to sell the movie to others. I jocund this kind of mindsets. So here is the catch. These people, for instance, are in their movie studios or rather not in business to sell things, they're in business to make money, right? A much better analogy for your question that you just asked for digital piracy is sneaking into a theater to watch a movie. You're not stealing a copy of that movie, but you're stealing revenue that the theater would have earned had you rightfully purchased a ticket. Most people do not even realize that. So when you pirate a music, a video, or software, you're pretty much stealing income from the seller. You're receiving something of value without paying for it. Theft removes the original. Piracy pretty much steals the income. So like I mentioned, something as simple as downloading a movie from a site, you're actually pirating. You know, in those days when we had to do, when we had infrared, when you say, oh, please pass me this song, you're actually pirating, because if someone is losing money from that, it literally means you're actually stealing from the person, from their intellectual property. It doesn't pretty much make them a bad person, but they're still stealing from someone. So yes, again, we're all thieves. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Mina, for that insight. Piracy is not theft because the original remains intact. However, you are stealing revenue from that the owner would have made from it. You're taking income from that person. Interesting insight. And that now brings me to my next question, which is to our panelist, Chika. Chika, what do you think likely benefits people who continue to participate in piracy, especially in Nigeria? What do you think is a benefit, and why? Not just why do people pirate? What do you see as a benefit that even to the future would make people keep participating in consuming pirated properties?
I believe, thank you very much for the question. And to answer that question, I think it's already been answered by all of the other panelists. And I think the first benefit is actually the benefit of access. And just to put the cherry on top of it, access at minimal cost, because you still, in some cases, have to pay for data. If you are, for instance, buying or rather downloading from a site, or if it's something that has to deal with online piracy, because I know that growing up, piracy wasn't just software related, as some of the examples that have been shared already. I remember then that you could walk down to Oshodi in Lagos and you would get any kind of book you wanted, but you would know that those books have spines that are weaker than the paper themselves. But it allowed us then to be able to purchase books that we ordinarily could not have bought brand new from, say, a CSS bookshop at Marina. So I buy secondhand books, so I bought pirated books, and I'm able to read, get access to information that I could otherwise not have gotten at a cheaper cost. That, I think, is a very splendid benefit. Back to you, moderator.
Interesting. I'll still stay with you, Toastmaster Chika. When you talk about access at minimal cost, there are some people, even if they can afford it, continue to pirate. So what do you think now drives that behavior? When you know you can afford it, it's accessible. People still decide that, yeah, I'm still going to, why should I pay for Netflix? Please, please, please. I beg, let me go to my Pirate Bay and get what I want. What do you think now drives that behavior that people still want to participate in piracy?
So it's different things. I think the other panelists have also mentioned, when a habit stays long enough and is consistent enough in the life of a person, then it becomes cultural embedment, right? That's one bit. Secondly, is also the fact that you take, for instance, the movie industry, for example. You realize that since the onset of streaming networks, we all started with Netflix at first, and probably someone like myself, I have a paid Netflix account. Then you have Hulu, you have Amazon Prime, and all the rest. Then you find out that certain shows are not on Netflix, but they happen to be on Amazon Prime. And you just know that it's almost impossible to have an account with all the streaming sites at the same time. Please, moderator, what would you do when you want to see a particular show that's not coming close to your cinema?
I see. Interesting. I like that you have trained that question back to me, because if what I want is not affordable and accessible, I would then likely be tempted to pirate. That now takes me back again to Toastmaster, to guest Ezra. When Ezra, what do you think we can do to inspire more people to not pirate? How do you think we can make people say, this is a wrong thing, do not commit this crime. We want Nigeria to be better. We don't want you to be a thief. How can we get people to become better in learning even about the ethics of piracy and knowing that it's something that we should try to not participate in?
Thank you so much, Tim Essay. So like a lot of victimless crimes, yeah, it's very, very difficult to make people understand that you're hurting someone, even though you're not hurting them directly, you're touching their revenue. To them, it's hilarious. It's not like I'm not doing this. I was very interested in what TM Chika said about like streaming platforms. So you could literally subscribe to like 5, 6 different streaming platforms, Apple Plus, Apple TV, Netflix, Hulu, all of them. And then a movie comes out and everybody's talking about it, and it's none of these ones. You now see, oh, it's on FX. So what would you do? What would you do? So I think the question, TMSA, should be around reducing this, because as far as there's always that option of piracy, people are always going to tap into it. Because if piracy is available, you're thinking, I didn't see this thing here, I didn't see this thing here. Let me just go and download from Ninja. Understand? Or I need this book, I need this movie, I'm not able to buy it. Let me do this thing here. So obviously we need to continue having more conversations like this so that people understand, first of all, that there's a danger in piracy. Like, Temina mentioned when she was talking about the loss of intellectual property, like that's somebody's intellectual property that you're not paying for. So that loss of revenue is there. So people need to also understand that by having more conversations around it. But at the end of the day, we need to punish people for this. We need to actually enact actual laws that will punish, because I can use the word now. It's jocund to think that people are just going to just sit down and clap and say, oh, don't worry, I'm just going to stop doing piracy. What are you suffering? You understand? What's the effect of this? Like, who's going to punish you? So if we also not just enact, like build proper systems that can monitor piracy and punish piracy, it's also going to help a lot. That's why people don't just walk around stealing, because they know they'll arrest them. They'll be punished for that. So we need to also punish people for that. We need to have more conversations around the danger of piracy and why it's bad. And then I think gradually, because this is a systemic thing, people are born into piracy. I understand. My father gave me my first Microsoft Word software and he bought it for 300 naira. You cannot see Microsoft Word for 300 naira anywhere. So my father made me a pirate. I most likely made my son a pirate. So it's a familiar thing. You understand? I won't, because we're talking about it. But yeah, it's a generational thing. So we also need to from the nuclear level, people need to also talk about it. So you talk to your kids about it, talk to your family about it. They bring a movie and you say, this is bootleg, let's not watch it. You understand? And I think if you do all this together, it will reduce, it won't eliminate, trust me, it can't eliminate it. Yeah, but it will reduce to a very high extent.
Oh, interesting. Thank you. I really like what you said around more conversation, which particularly ties into awareness. So that ignorance of the law, let people be less ignorant. Let them know that book, that game, that movie, that song you're listening to, it's likely pirated. In addition, a need for accountability, having proper systems, especially within our legal framework, that's actually when you commit it and know it's a crime, you would be held accountable for it. And hopefully that would help us break the generational circles around poverty from the nuclear level. Interesting. Thank you for sharing your points, our panelist Ezra. I'd now like to move on to Toastmaster Mina. Toastmaster Mina, what is your perspective around what the future would be like? What you think can be better?
All right. So honestly, or fortunately, most companies already understand this problem. And I think what they do for some companies currently is they use bargain pricing to fight piracy. So just to make sure that their products are more affordable or provide an affordable alternative that accommodates people's needs. When Ezra spoke, he talked about accessibility, cost and things like that, just to encourage more people to subscribe and do the right thing. There are certain core concepts that should be introduced to at the very elementary school level stage, at least. For example, concepts of property and ownership are easily explained to children because they can relate to the underlying notions of property what is mine versus what is not mine, just as they do for their pencils, balls, and things like that. We can start from that age to change their mindset and perspective about intellectual property theft and, doing the right thing. Again, you mentioned enlightenment and awareness earlier. Those kind of campaigns can clearly define copyright infringement, possibly sharing with people legitimate sites, because most people do not know where to even go and download legitimate sites. Most people do not even know that they're ignorant. You know how you started with ignorance is not an excuse, but there are people that are outrightly ignorant about these things. Who would have thought that sticking into a theater to watch a movie that you're costing somebody's paying for that? So if you get people legitimate sites that allows them download other people's work safely without compromising their personal details or expose them to any form of financial scams, because that's another thing. People are not sure that if I put my card, what if I get compromised? That kind of thought. So I'm able to get value for my money, because you can pay for an author's intellectual property and not get access to it, or get access for what you paid for. You can get a poor quality. Yeah, you can also get a poor quality product. Reason why he said that piracy is almost always a service problem and not a pricing problem. So speaking of accessibility, affordability, and quality of the item being paid for and the likes. So that's the future, as a matter of fact. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Mina. Piracy, it's likely a service problem, and that is something that we have to now form around access, people having access to information without concerns around maybe being open to scams. My last question would be to Toastmaster Joy before we read our audience comments and take questions. Toastmaster Joy, what do you think are some potholes that people would like to avoid when it comes to piracy? Because as we had said, even while introducing this panel session, it feels like sometimes for certain things, some people prefer one or the other. Using my own ethical framework that I have defined, I would be very offended if I heard that a book I like was pirated. But if I heard that someone pirated a game, I would probably not really feel bad about it, right? So how do you think, or what do you believe we can do to set like those kind of potholes or those things that we have to avoid around piracy?
Thank you. I think that the one-word answer to this would be standardization. In Nigeria, I think we almost lack that skill as a people, as a state. Everybody has double standards for everything. Like you said, a book, it will pain your chest. But if it was a game, anyone can do anything. So if there is standardization, it cuts across every sphere, it cuts across every genre, it cuts across every association, every kind of intellectual property, every kind of content. It has to be standardized. The law has to be first enacted and then standardized. I don't even know if, I think Eliezer had said that there's a law, but I didn't even know about that. So you can imagine how much jocundity that we look at the topic of piracy with. It's like a joke to us, which I think is wrong. We need to take it seriously. We need to standardize and make sure that there are severe punishments or legal actions taken for those that do not keep to the law. I'm saying this, and some people are looking at me with bombastic side eye saying, after this, say you use someone else's Netflix or you download something, I might face the law. I'm not saying I would face the law, but if it is standardized, we all know and we are more conscious of how it goes, and then it will not stop overnight. Let's not kid ourselves and say, in the next 2 years or 3 years, even 5 years, the issue of piracy, it has eaten deep into the fabric of the country. So there's no way it would end in the nearest future. But if we start the journey
from now,
I can tell you for free from now that culture of passing it on then begins to wane, and the generations to come, in times to come, now begin to understand that this is something that is wrong and we need to stop it. There might just be a miracle and piracy in another 20 years to come. I hope we live long enough to see it. But piracy in the nearest future might be a thing of the past. So I think these are one of the few measures we can use. There's still a lot more, which time will not permit us to talk about. But first and foremost, we need to standardize and we need to make sure that the law is set in stone.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Joy. Standardization and enacting the law. I have loved all our responses, from how we have explored the lack of finances or our cultural values, because it is easy, it is accessible. If you're not doing a Yahoo, nobody cares, right? But then again, as Toastmaster Mina had highlighted, when you're stealing revenue from the owner, even if piracy is not theft and the original remains intact, especially in the digital space, you are still stealing income. And then in how we can help in managing it is in making sure there's access at minimal cost, making sure it's standardized, exploring what companies are doing by using bargain pricing to help fight, and then more conversations, more awareness for us to know about the ethics of piracy, the available or existing laws, and then proper systems that would help us build punishments. We would now take questions from the audience while we also read some comments from the chat box. If you would like to unmute and speak rather than share your comment on the chat box, please raise your hand and I'll call upon you. So our panelists, I see there's a guest from Toastmaster Olem that says, piracy has been moved from generation to generation like peak milk. That's a very funny commentary. And then there's also a quote, a conversation by Ife, where she talks about that because there's poor consequence management, that's likely something that aids piracy, which definitely speaks into what we've been discussing in this panel today. In addition, we also have Ife telling us that photocopy go easy, in the words of Nice. So she's telling us about how it's actually easy to be a pirate, and she's telling us based on the words of a musician, who I'm sure has definitely had his songs pirated, most likely. And then we've also had conversations. Toastmaster Edem had mentioned that he doesn't think we can teach an old dog a new trick, which maybe is a less optimistic approach in how we think would get people to change piracy. And then Ugosi Ugo suffered with piracy. For those who are not aware, Ugosi Ugo was an author who produces a series of learning aids used for those who write the West African examination, WAEC, at the secondary school level. And yes, that was one book that was always pirated. It's interesting to realize that I was even thinking in terms of piracy for like with novels, but even our textbooks get pirated, right? And then I see there's a quote also by Zionist where she says that people that can afford it still engage in piracy because the heart of man is desperately wicked. Who can know? Piracy has been there, it just changes form. And that's a very interesting perspective, Zionist. And I also see that if anyone had said that even politicians pirate other politicians' manifestos. So what do we do if the leaders who are supposed to make us accountable are also in the act of piracy? And Choma is telling us that piracy actually reflects the value system of a people. So if you have poor values, it makes sense that piracy would follow. And Angela tells us that while we should all be respectful of creative ownership, with advancing technology, a copyright holder would also have to review the measures they employ in managing how their work is being transferred, and that there are business models and incentives for ethical behavior, right? And so maybe proper engagement, especially in the case of copyright, should be adopted. And then I have seen, I'm just going through again. Okay, so those were some of the comments we have had. And there's apparently a new copyright law for 2023 that we're just learning, and which ties into our point by Joy about standardization. Thank you to all our participants who have shared on the chat box their opinions and thoughts. I will now be looking through for those who have questions. Zioness, I see your hand is up. Over to you. Please ask your question or comment.
Okay, so I have a question and comments. Let me start with the question.
Okay.
After we are done with this Toastmasters session, how many people are actually going to start fighting against piracy? Are you going to delete your Microsoft Word that you got from Appianway or the movies that you have? And would people actually set safeguards? Because going back to the point that I made, that the heart of man is desperately wicked, who can know it? That's basically from the Bible. And why I say that is because we shouldn't really expect human beings to want to do good. Our flesh is inherently wicked. It wants to do bad things. So if no matter how good the product is, the game, the movie, the book, we shouldn't expect everyone to value that, value the author's time, value the creator's time, and not want to exploit it. we should expect people to want to pirate it because it's like it's a business. So knowing that, we should try to find a solution from that angle. I don't know if that makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah. Solution from that angle. Of course. Thank you.
We'll put standards, we'll put safeguards, but we know people are still going to break them. So where do we go from there?
From there. Oh, interesting. I like that perspective, and I think so. You're training it. You're giving it as a suggestion, but also train it to everyone, not just the panelists on the calls. So after this call, would you delete any intellectual property that you have gotten from Appian Way? I leave you to answer within yourself. I see a comment that I'd really like to now throw to our panelist, Chika. If anyone is asking that, how does she wonders about ChatGPT, specifically with artificial intelligence, and how it might affect piracy? Is using ChatGPT not a form of piracy? Chika, what do you think?
So I believe it's like asking if using Google and getting a Google search results is also piracy. So essentially, it's ChatGPT is an AI. A lot of data have been fed to it over time, and it's based off that data that it gives supposed responses to you in a manner that makes it seem like you're in a conversation with another human being. So that's just about it. So I don't think, please, let's not spread this net too wide. It's already wide enough.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Interesting insight around it's just the data that is fed. I do know that there have been concerns and even complaints, especially when it comes to creative works, about what if as a creator, you did not even agree for your work to be fed in. But because it is on that global digital space, it gets used it helps influence the results from that AI. But as you said, let's still limit around ethics and piracy within Nigeria. I do know there are a lot of early adopters of AI within Nigeria, but as it pertains to managing or using that data, it is assumed that for everything that goes into AI, it was already agreed upon. It's put in a public domain space, and it doesn't give exactly what you created back to you. And then I would just check that Nigeria, is there a Nigeria free? I'm just imagining a Nigeria free from piracy. I guess it would be boring. That's what Eddie Young thinks, that he thinks it would be boring if Nigeria is free from piracy. Interesting. Well, we'll definitely maybe have less honest or more honest politicians if they are not stealing each other's manifestation. And I see that as a thought shared here by our panelist Chika, where he says that the country with the most pirates is actually still the United States, with its economy, with all its laws. We're saying let's standardize the law. Let's make sure there's enough money. Let's make sure there's enough access. Yet, even places who have it continue. So I think it ties into Zionist's point about how, because of the way human nature is, if I can afford to do it, why shouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? And Emeka has also shared a point that he thinks that piracy is a crime we've normalized, but it should be discouraged. That, like Goodluck Jonathan says, call a thief a thief. Don't soft talk it by calling him a criminal. So don't say, oh, I'm just a pirate. You're actually a thief. I guess which ties back into our title that we are all thieves. Abisola was asking about ebooks, and yes, digital copies of books. In fact, that was what got me interested in this topic, is actually also a form of piracy, because if we tie it back into the definition by Toastmaster Mina, the money you would have spent buying the book, be it say on Amazon if it was a digital book, or say Okada books, it's now money you have taken away because you're illegally downloading it. So an author, if they're using Amazon to track how many people have read their books, they might say, oh, only 100 people have bought my book and read it. Meanwhile, there are books that have been read by maybe over 2,000 people, but that 1,900 got it from illegal sites. So there's no way to track that data. If the author is trying to get a contract to maybe write another book, you're not as motivated. You don't have the data that would help you show that people are actually consuming your content. I would also want to ask around questions. I don't know if I see Angela's hand is up. Angela would be our final the final question that would take in today's session. But as always, this is a conversation that it's ongoing. It's something we're hoping you take into your homes, your social circles, and just check your ethics around privacy, what you think you can afford to do or not to. Angela, please go ahead to ask your question.
Yes, I really just wanted to make a comment, and it has to do with, I mean, it's an ongoing question whether technology has improved life or has reduced or is doing more harm than good or otherwise. For ChatGPT and piracy, I think that essentially there's a means and there's the end. I think ChatGPT is a tool that is just more intuitive. At the end of the day, it pulls information from the general internet. So it's really that we're only able to query it in a more intuitive way, in a way that is more familiar to us as opposed to how we're doing it before. So the question is still a matter of how did things get on the internet in the first place? We may not necessarily be infringing anything if it's available on the web, and so it's just our query of it that has now changed. Yes, we should be more conscious of whether we are disrespecting people's work and their copyrights, but really, I think these are my comments about ChatGPT, and I thought to just bring that forward before we closed on this topic.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for sharing. And yes, you're right, because actually even in Google, normally, when you want to download an image for use, when you go on Google search, there's the options, advanced options, where you can actually check and say, let's say I want an image of a woman cooking. You can actually harmonize your search button to give you specifically copyright-free images. So images you can use anywhere and not be concerned that, oh, because it's part of my slides or because I use it as part of my video, someone can tell me I'm copywriting or stealing their work. I would also now like, before I ask the final questions from our speakers, I see a point by Edidion where he says that with the advent of technology, he feels piracy has been controlled because most of the things we download, we pay for indirectly. But when it's done intentionally, knowing fully well that piracy can be minimized but not eliminated. And I think that's a thought that keeps echoing today about how people believe that we can minimize it. We have to put structures and systems in place, but it will likely not be eliminated. I also see that Lily West says that she thinks cybersecurity experts should engage the populace and make it easy for people to learn how to not just secure their resources, but also intellectual materials. So we know it's over to us to now learn and upskill ourselves. And Emeka believes that ChatGPT in a literature work might fall or fail some plagiarism issues, which still raises the ethics around copying someone's work. And that if Sembe was asking that if someone buys a product, say an article, and shares it with me, is that piracy? And I think the answer is yes, it is. If it's for sale and you're removing in any way, you're removing revenue from the original owner, you are definitely pirating. And if you have a soft copy of a book and you're sending to someone, yes, MG Club, it is still piracy. Thank you to our very active guests and participants who have all shared their questions and feedback. I would now like to just take final thoughts from our panelists. And I would like them, if there's one thing you hope people in the audience today, just based on this reaction, you want them to take away with them, what would it be? I would first start with you, Chika. One thing you want everyone who had listened or participated today, what you'd want them to take away around piracy, especially in Nigeria.
All right. So I think the one thing I am taking away, and I hope you can share with me, is there is no topic that there isn't enough research data for. When planning for this particular topic, honestly, I was anxious all through. And like, what exactly does this lady want me to come and talk about? But listening to someone like Mina, obviously, you can read. You can read. So don't be afraid to attack any topic. Like, I didn't know the things I knew here, and they all exist. So kudos to everyone, all my co-panelists. You people are just too much. Thanks. Back to moderator.
Thank you, panelist Chika. So he's saying that there's always going to be research available for any ethical dilemma you may find yourself in. Toastmaster has a beautiful ethical framework that would help you maybe come discuss and get insights on it. So obviously you can read and learn whatever it is. I would also like to ask Joy. Joy, what are your final thoughts or something you want all of us in the conversation today to talk about or to take with us?
It is with great jocundity that I say that piracy in Nigeria is not going anywhere anytime soon. And it's not, I'm sorry that it's bad news for some people, it's good news for some people, but this is something that has come to stay. Last, we are all thieves. But if we make a conscious effort to first start the change from us, now I sound like aspire to aspire. If we first try to make the change from us, then that's a good start. Okay. We pass this culture on and on and on. The way it started, just maybe it might end that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing us your very cynical perspective on our future of piracy in Nigeria. I will try to be more optimistic, but that is why we have these conversations. There would always be people on both extremes. And yes, I like that point around culturally. It now has to become the way we started being pirates. Let us now all soon stop being pirates, hopefully. I would now be moving on to Mina. Mina, what are your final thoughts and something you would like everyone in the audience to take with them today? Re-piracy in Nigeria.
All right, so just to bring this to us, just imagine a writer put up a book on Amazon and Amazon had to pull down that book because they have this plagiarism detector. And then you as a writer would have to go convince Amazon that this book is mine. I am the author of that book. Like Nigerians would say, no evidence. You will explain tire.
Okay.
So when you think of that in that perspective, you think of the money you lose, you think of the work you put in. I think it just gives us that sense of what effort people put in and then begin to lose money and all of that. So my own key takeaway, or what I'll put up out there, is as much as possible, I think we have knowledge of what it is or what piracy is.
Yeah.
Please, every time you try to take someone's intellectual property, you are losing money. And as much as possible, do the right thing so you're not labeled a thief.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Must you thief, do the right thing. So you're not labeled a thief, have respect for people's intellectual property, and do not make people feel that their own original content will not be valued. So have that respect and try as much as possible. And finally, to Ezra. Ezra, what's something you would want all of us in the audience to take away about after today's conversation around ethics of piracy in Nigeria?
All right, thank you. To all my fellow thieves of this call, I just want you to understand that, while we're all stealing and taking all without any of that, we need to also understand that there's always an alternative. There's always an alternative, and most of the alternatives are free and easily accessible. So before you think to pirate something, I think you should always look at the alternative. It's Microsoft Word, there's Google Docs that you don't have to pay for, and on and on and on and on. So we're not asking you, don't do this, don't use this thing because it's a difficult ask. We're saying look for an alternative that's free, that doesn't have any restrictions, and use those ones instead. And finally, it really does begin with us. Like TM Joy said, if 61 of us on this call decide to stop pirating after this call, it's a major boost, because before this call we had 61 people that were thieves and pirates. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ezra, and thank you so much to everyone who has participated in today's conversation. I've really liked how we've talked about our cultural values, the behavior, and then the economic access, how distribution or even ease influences it, the need for structures, especially legal accountability that would help us, maybe even standardization to make it more democratizing access for everyone. And also, of course, with awareness, be it from cybersecurity experts or even creators of original works, in knowing how to ensure that their works is protected. Let us try not to steal revenue from the owners. In addition, let us ensure that we explore free alternatives when we want to consume. So for every creative content you want to consume, be it a favorite game, be it a movie, be it a song, be it a book, first check, is there a free legal option available? Can I explore that instead? And I would always want to point out, because I saw a comment by Nana asking that if he buys a book and his family reads it, is it piracy? No. When it becomes piracy is when you now decide, as I had defined at the very beginning, when you now decide unauthorized use. So someone's creativity, and then you even now decide to make money off it. So for example, some of those sites you're always going, you people go to download things from, when you're on that site, they are showing you ads, and that's revenue for them. So it's that illegal copying and then making money from it that makes it pirate. So if you're buying something that was made in an illegal way, you're also helping to feed it. I would hope that after this conversation today, even if we have divergent views as it comes to piracy and we tend to hop from one side to another, we are better informed. We now know about the Cybercrime Act in Nigeria. We know that if we plan to help support creativity, we have to ensure that we become less thieves. So are we all thieves? Yes, we are, but we will remain thieves. We might not. I think that is the main charge I would have into this conversation. Thank you to all my panelists, and thank you to Ezra, Mina, Chika, and Joy. This has been a delightful session, and it's back to you, our Toastmaster of the day.
Interesting. Let's give them a round of applause. That was a well-rehearsed and prepared session. The jocundity was just there, and you're leaving us on a pensive note to say we are all thieves. And I hope we are all going to repent after now. Thank you. So now that we are done with the prepared segment of our meeting, we're going to go into the evaluation segments of this meeting, because whatever is not evaluated, of course, would not need any improvements upon. So join me to call on our general evaluator, Toastmaster Kubi Uyanga DTM, for the evaluation segments. Over to you, general evaluator.
Thank you very much, our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Oluwatoyin Abayomi, for handing over the baton to me. And looking at the time, it's 15 minutes to 6 p.m. So that means please, if your microphone is not closed, could you please close it? Thank you very much. So I will promptly hand over the baton to the first evaluator, who will evaluate the meeting, or rather the table topics segment of the meeting. So please welcome to the screen our table topics evaluator, Toastmaster Tari.
Okay, good evening, Toastmasters and guests. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good evening. I'm on the road, so bear with me. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Chichuru, for that beautiful table topic session. It would have been lovely to see your jocund expressions as you drilled out the questions, but we'll make do with what we have. Another well done to all the people who volunteered for the table topics, Toastmasters Enna, Zioness, Anjola, and Toastmaster Nnamdi. I think you all did pretty well with the questions that were thrown at you. I know I have only 2 to 3 minutes for this evaluation session, so I wouldn't want to go into nitty-gritty of everything everyone did. But one thing I'd like to say is that evaluations are not only for those who actually spoke during the meeting, it's actually for everybody, because it's a learning opportunity for everybody. Now, with table topics, it's easy to freeze when the question is thrown at you. It's easy to do that. What I always say is that the first thing to do is probably just repeat the question again to ensure that you actually got the question, and then to buy you some time. A couple of people did that, but I realized that like one person did that, but 3 out of the 4 who volunteered for the table topics just went straight ahead and answered, "What is your name?" "My name is Tari." It doesn't help you in any way. So to buy some time, you just like, okay, a name is something that is given to you when you were born. That's an introduction. And then again, I always say every speech is made of 3 components. You have the introduction, you have the body, and then you have the closing. If you have that division at the back of your mind, I bet you whatever question is thrown at you, you will be able to put something on the table that would last at least 1 minute. So that's just feedback to take. Everybody did great. Everyone's video was on except Anjola. And I think Anjola did a pretty good job with the question he was thrown, because he kept us engaged from the beginning to the end. It was an American writer called Mark Twain that said, "Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection." Our table topics do not have to be perfect, but we can continue to improve as we go along. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our table topics evaluator, for making it succinct and concise and handing back control. So I will segue quickly to our grammar report, and to give the grammar report, I invite to the screen our grammarian for today, Toastmaster Enna.
Apologies, GE. We have the speech evaluation first.
Speech evaluation.
I have to be the one to apologize. I think I'm trying to run too fast. So I'll take a step back and invite to evaluate the prepared presentation, which was the panel discussion, the prepared speech evaluator, distinguished Toastmaster Chuks Mwabweze, BTN.
Thank you very much, General Evaluator DTM Kubi Uyanga. Fantastic session today. I have been enriched on so many levels. Thank you, Toastmaster Essay. And I'll lead on from what we heard from Toastmaster Tari. When we deliver evaluations in Toastmasters, it is not necessarily just for the speaker, for the panel moderator, it's for the entirety of the audience to gain something so that we can use for subsequent speeches, subsequent panels. What did I think went really well today? It started off from the beginning. It's just the exemplary nature of Toastmaster Essay because it showed that she had prepared for this. She had a proper ethical framework. She had looked through the requirements for this speech. The panelists had one non-Toastmaster as was required. I liked that. I liked that attention to detail. It was also good to start this out with that icebreaker, asking the panelists just round robin, are we all thieves? And good to see how that JOCUND response from the various panelists just eased us into the various discussions that we subsequently had. What did I think could be better? Where did we have some room for improvement today? First one was around how we moderated the use of the tool that we used for this meeting or are using for this meeting today. It was a missed opportunity to have all the panelists pinned. In that way, we would have been able to mimic exactly how a panel session would have held in physical or face-to-face terms. So that was a missed opportunity there. The second thing was that, and this is specifically now for the panel moderators, or when we moderate panels like this, we should endeavor to catch our breath in between so that we avoid the monotony of our own voices, especially when we go through things like chat responses and all, interject that with some of the actual vocal or verbal questions from audience members. That's where we help ourselves there. But beyond that, the things that I really, really liked was the fact that there's a risk here with panel sessions like this. And the risk is that we can get into groupthink where everybody thinks we're all thieves and everybody just doubles down on that. But it was so good to see panelists hold both sides of the coin today, give us both pros and cons of it. And that's the beauty, that's the depth, that's the richness of the conversation that we've had today. It was beautiful on so many levels. And I believe that I've taken a lot from this, and I'm sure that your case is not different. I will pack this here and have further conversations with the panel moderator afterwards, but for now, it's back to you, dear General Evaluator.
I was muted. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Chuks Mwabweze DTN. There are very few people who can pack such insightful value in such concise words and to give that feedback without aggravating the listeners, but rather inspiring jocundity in them. Now we have listened to the evaluations of the table topics session, the impromptu speeches. We've had the evaluation of the prepared presentation, the panel discussion moderated by Toastmaster Eseoghene Okereka. So we move straight into the meeting evaluations. The first role player who will come to the screen to explain his role is a very handsome gentleman. His name is Toastmaster Ena. Make him very welcome, please.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster DTM Kubi Uyanga, for that introduction. And I'm here to give the grammarian report. So I will start with improper use of language. That was a very difficult task for me in this meeting. I couldn't really get any improper use of language. But just a few comments on our pronunciations. I heard someone say cheer joy. I know this meeting is particularly a jocund one, and we are in a cheerful mood, but what we share is joy. We share joy, not share joy. Then someone mentioned okays. I'm not quite familiar with that word yet. I think what I'm familiar with is okay. Then one thing that rang throughout this meeting, many of us, including myself, could not pronounce the word TH properly. Many of us, including myself. So we were thinking, we were thanking, we were tiffing, so many things. Instead of thinking, having great thoughts, and thanking, and not thieving anything. So please, let's try to pronounce the TH better in future. Somebody also mentioned call upon you, which is good language, but it means a different thing than what was intended. Call upon you means to order or require someone to do something. Whereas what we wanted to say was ask you to speak. Someone also mentioned close the microphone. I think a more suitable statement would have been switch off the microphone. In terms of quotes, I heard two quotes, one from Emeka Obuiba on the charts, and he said, it's a quote by Goodluck Jonathan, call a thief, don't soft talk it by calling him a criminal. Another quote I heard was from Toastmaster Tari, continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection by Mark Twain. Wonderful. It's always good to infuse quotes in our speeches. I heard some words that are not part of my everyday vocabulary and which I plan to include henceforth. TTM Kubi mentioned adherence, aggravated. Thank you for those words. I will try and imbibe them. Toastmaster Angelua, okay, she mentioned this favorite phrase, let the poor breathe. Yes, it shows so many pictures, very good one. Toastmaster Essay mentioned framing ethical views. Yes, I love that. I love the language used there. Toastmaster Ekuchi Joy, easy peasy lemon squeezy. I love that. Thank you very much. And it's an elaboration of the easy peasy, meaning extremely easy or simple. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Thank you very much for that. Toastmaster Eliza mentioned prevalence, systemic. I love those words. I will try and imbibe them in my vocabulary. Toastmaster Ekuchi also mentioned begins to wane. Yes, I know the meaning of wane, but it's not part of my vocabulary. It's something I need to include. Thank you very much for that. Then I love Toastmaster Chuk's missed opportunity. I love that. Monopoly of our own voice. It paints a very, very clear picture in our minds. Thank you for that. Doubles down. I love that. And beautiful on so many levels. All in all, I thought our performance today was very, very exemplary. And I'm not going to the word of the day, but my time is up. We've used the word of the day quite often, and the master for today's event is Toastmaster Chituru with who used the word of the day 4 times. Just to mention that the word of the day is not jocund, but jocund. And I implore us to use it for the next 2 weeks or until our next Toastmasters meeting. Let's use it as lavishly as we can so that it forms part of our vocabulary. Over to you, the General Evaluator.
Thank you very much for the gift of your grammar reports. Our grammarian Toastmaster Ena, 2 minutes to the hour of 6, which means you must move very quick. And that takes us to our accounter, who I invite to give her report, Toastmaster Alder.
Thank you very much, General Evaluator. So my accounter report has about 8 Toastmasters on it. During the course of the meeting, we used words like twice. Was the most frequently used pause filler. It was used 18 times. Was used about 7 times. So, twice. And then we had 3 repeats of what, just to, and who. In all, I was very preoccupied with the panel session that I didn't pay so much attention to some of these things. But I want to leave us with these parting words. The use of crutch words and pause fillers aren't great for our grammar. And so going forward, guests and Toastmasters, let's learn to take a deep breath, pause, pace, and deliver our speeches the way we ought to. Thank you so much, and over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, TM Olem. I'm the very first person to take that advice to pause, breathe, and pace my remarks to avoid leaning on speech crutches. Bringing up in the rear, but definitely not the least, is our timer to give the timing report. Just a summary as quickly as possible. Toastmaster Ekuchi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, DTM Kubi. I'll swiftly go into the timing report for today. Every single person was in good time for the table topic segment. For the manual speech segment, we overshot our time by 8 minutes 12 seconds. The manual speech segment was supposed to end at 40 minutes, but we used 48 minutes 12 seconds. For the evaluation segment, the table topics evaluator and the speech evaluator were right on time. The accounter as well was right on time. The grammarian, although overshot his time by a lot of minutes, I think he used 5 minutes 18 seconds. So far we've done well. We could do better, and I have used 45 seconds as we speak. I would also say in this time frame, in the spirit of timing, that please, if you're on the call, kindly grant us a few more minutes to overshoot the 6 o'clock end time that we have originally planned. It is not in our nature. We don't do this on a normal day, but today seems to be a peculiar meeting. Thank you, and it's back to you, DTM Kubi.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Ekuchi, for the very accurate timing report that you've given to us. Ladies and gentlemen, a few of my observations about this meeting, coming in no particular order, but to give you an overview, a verdict before I go into the details. This has been a very jocund meeting. I have enjoyed myself thoroughly. I have learned a lot in this meeting, and I believe this is the experience of the others on the call. So into the details. Before the meeting, I observed that there has been adequate preparation. The meeting notice was broadcast and marketed ahead of time, and not just within the Division K folds, but across groups that make the meeting to be known across Nigeria. Very well done. I commend the fact that the relevant information about the meeting, like the profiles of the role player, the agenda, was shared ahead of time so we could know and prepare our minds. Then joining the call, I joined the call about maybe 5 minutes or thereabouts to 4 p.m. I joined to meet very jocund people on the call. There was this palpable conviviality that made the small talk to be enjoyable and made the atmosphere to be warm, so that any guests who might have been there on the call would have felt welcome and at the right place. And very worthy of note that as at 4:08 p.m. we had a whopping 34 participants on this call. Very well done to the Vice President, Public Relations, and the team for making that happen. The call to order was professional. I love the fact that the ground rules were not cliche, but they were relevant and meaningful. And during the meeting itself, I observed that the meeting was very well attended, which means that the meeting was very well marketed. This is extra kudos to the VPPR and the team. And I appreciate the improvisation that happened to step in for the Toastmaster of the day when she had a bit of a technical difficulty. That support was very valuable because it ensured a smooth flow of the meeting and we lost as little time as possible. The table topics were well steered. Of course, the table topics master showed experience by bringing in a seasoned Toastmaster to give the opening table topics remark. And the topics themselves, while being thought-provoking, were simple enough and easy to engage. So nobody was stymied, but rather people had opportunity to make remarks and express themselves. I know the panel discussion has been extensively evaluated by the assigned evaluator to the project. I have about just 2 points which were not mentioned by the evaluator I'd like us to put our minds to. In the opening gambits of the moderator, she asked a question to all panelists. Are we all thieves? And interestingly, all the panelists acquiesced to that question. They all agreed that we are all thieves. Perhaps the moderator would have consulted the speakers behind the scenes before the show itself to agree on some contrasts in the opening, because that is what would set the motive. Is the contrast that sets the motive for discussion, because unanimous agreement suggests that the matter is not contentious enough to warrant a discussion. So that's something to put in our minds. And I like the fact that the backgrounds of the panelists were varied, great choices. And one other important thing that I observed, you see, panels are made for strong characters and bold opinions. And perhaps the panelists would have taken more opportunity to make their comments to be very heavily tinged with their personal opinions. I observed in the case of one panelist who, in answering a question that was posed to him by the moderator, shared a few remarks or threw the question back to the moderator. As a panelist, that's not what you want to do. You were called because of specific knowledge and domain experience that you have. And on a panel, it is your responsibility to set an opinion, set a position as regards yourself and the expertise that you have that warranted you being invited to that panel. Besides that, I looked at the clock and the participants list again by 5:37, and we had 61 participants at that time. Another well done to the VPPR and the team. Just one point on grammar that was missed by the grammarian. I'll mention it. Someone on this call made this statement. I think it might have been a mistake, but let me just make a comment. We must make sure that we become less thieves. It would have been better as we must make sure we become less of thieves. For the table topics evaluator, something very important I'd like to point out. The evaluator of the table topics, because of maybe a constraint that she had, was unable to closely observe all the respective table topics responses. So in giving the reports, gave general best practices, not evaluations of the specific responses. which was very commendable, very tactically creative. But for the purpose of maximizing the learning experience, I would encourage anyone who finds themselves in this position some other time to maybe speak to their VP or team members to get someone to stand in for them. Aside all I've mentioned in recommendations, the recommendations were effusively more than all of those recommendations. And I like the fact that the preparation, the conviviality, and the mutual support that was prevalent in this meeting led to laughter, led to group cheer, and left me, and I believe all of us here, in a very jocund mood. Me on a cold Lagos evening. So I throw it back to the Toastmaster of the day in Abuja, who round trip it back to the president in Port Harcourt. Over to you, Toastmaster Abayomi.
Thank you, General Evaluator. That was quite a comprehensive report you have given. I appreciate that. Well, Toastmasters and our guests, whatever has a beginning must have an end. But did I forget to mention that I will need Toastmaster Eseoghene to take this topic to a national platform. It is worth, yes, to be discussed. Something is worth to be discussed at that level. Thank you very much. And before I go off, I want to ask, is there anybody here who at one time or the other has had reason to take a medicine? Yes, at one time or the other, you take medicine. Is there anyone who takes time to read the leaflet to be sure, oh, the side effects, I want to understand them before they start manifesting? I want to believe we have people who do that. Okay. May I recommend or prescribe a medicine that doesn't have any side effects? Who is interested in that? Everybody? Me? Good. So the medicine is put together by Shannon L. Alder. Shannon L. Alder. And he said, laughter is the only medicine without side effects. So you can take it copiously and there will be no side effects. And with this, I want to hand over the lectern back to the president of Pecten Toastmasters Club. Thank you, Toastmaster Eseoghene, for having me. I'm not just living with a jocund experience, I'm also living with a lot of things that I'm stealing away. So if you call me a thief after now, you are on your own. No? Thank you very much.
Wow. Please, can we all unmute our mic, and also using the emojis either on the chat box, please put your hands together for our Toastmaster of the day, our key facilitator, Toastmaster Oluwatoyin. Toastmaster Oluwatoyin, don't worry, in Toastmasters, we learn from each other. So you are not a thief, you are a Toastmaster, you're a leader. Don't worry, this is a very great place for you. Thank you, everyone who has participated in today's meeting. Thank you to Toastmaster Chituru, our table topics master. Thank you to all our table topics participants, our evaluators, DTM Chugs, Toastmaster Tari, Toastmaster Ena. Thank you so much. Our main key player today, DTM Kubi, thank you so much for all your suggestions and feedback and for your detailed evaluation. And of course, our Toastmaster of the day, thank you so much, Toastmaster Oluwatoyin. Thank you for your resilience. And thank you for leaving us that, yes, the medicine without side effects is laughter. We are definitely of good cheer. Not forgetting all our participants today. Thank you for everyone who has dialed in. We got up to 63 participants online at one point, which is very commendable. We would like to share appreciation to all the Toastmasters, and for the future Toastmasters, our guests, we hope this is an opportunity to get you to come in. So if you're interested, as always, please, there's a link on the chat box. Please fill the attendance form. Even if you're a guest or a Toastmaster, would like to get your feedback and suggestions on how we'd keep improving, and we want to stay connected with you, so we'd keep having fun meetings and spreading the good cheer of great leadership and communication. I want to thank everyone who has attended today's meeting. We thank you for your grace in giving us that extra 15 minutes so we could close by 6:15. But please don't go away. Even if we're going to officially adjourn the meeting, we'd like to also meet our guests and first timers. So please stay on the call so we'll have a fun way to connect and engage with each other. I'd now like one Toastmaster to please move for the motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I, Toastmaster Ekuchi Joy James, move the motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Thank you, our VP Toastmaster Ekuchi. Do we have someone willing to second her motion?
Yes, I, Angela, Toastmaster Angela Badaro, jocundly second the motion for closing the meeting for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Angela, and thank you for everyone who has participated in this meeting. Our meeting is officially over, but our guests do not go away. We'd like to meet you and connect with you. Thank you, everyone. Let us keep practicing and taking the best medicine that has no side effects, laughter. Thank you, everyone. The meeting is over. Thank you.
Thank you.